In the world of Metallica, there are two legendary albums.
I'm kidding.
Master of Puppets and Injustice for All. But which one truly reigns supreme? Today I wanted to dive deep into the heart of Metallica's masterpieces, uncovering the subjective truth behind their brilliance. Master of Puppets, released on March 3, 1986, marked a turning point for Metallica. After 4 months of intense work in Denmark, the band emerged with the landmark album, boasting 8 of their finest tracks. The compositions, growing larger and more intricate, showcased James's evolution as a vocalist and a lyricist. The guitar arrangements by Hetfield, Hammett, and Burton were meticulous and impactful. Even Lars, known for historically struggling in the studio, tried to step up his game for this album, and was even able to borrow a snare from Rick Allen to really tighten up his snare sound. The release of the album catapulted Metallica into new heights, with a touring cycle that saw them opening for Ozzy Osbourne, peaking at number 29 on the US Billboard 200, and going platinum 6 times in the United States. Master of Puppets solidified Metallica's place in music history, and to a place that almost seemed insurmountable. Injustice for All was released on August 25, 1988, and it emerged from a tumultuous period for Metallica, marked by soaring heights and devastating lows, including the tragic loss of Cliff Burton. Recorded in 3 months at One and One Studio in LA, the album represents one of Metallica's most intricate, progressive, and aggressive pieces to date, with longer tracks and heightened intensity. James's vocals seethed with anger, and his guitar playing, along with Hammett's, reached a new level of complexity. Meanwhile, Lars pushed himself to his limits to keep pace with the rest of the band. Jason Newsted, the new bassist, was left on the sidelines for this album, but made a significant contribution to the opening track, Blackened. Despite criticism for its unique tone and lack of bass, Injustice for All defied expectations, peaking at number 6 on the US Billboard 200 and going 8 times platinum. The touring cycle for this album saw them reach new heights, headlining countless sold-out shows, and even filming one of their most famous live DVDs in Seattle, Washington. So to try and fairly compare these two albums, I figured we'd go track by track, one song from Master of Puppets against one song from Injustice for All, to determine which album was better. Again, this is just my subjective opinion, not an objective opinion, so all these thoughts and opinions are my own. Both albums share a pretty cohesive structure, and a lot of the beats and ebbs and flows of the albums follow the same path, so it's pretty easy to try and line them up together. In this comparison, I'm going to take a look at each track. I'm going to give some of my opinions on the songs, and then I want to take a look at the live metrics for how many times a song has been played, and then look at the Spotify numbers to see which song has been played more. So each song on either side could earn 3 points. 1 point for my own opinion, 1 point for it being played more live, and 1 point for it being played more on Spotify. And that should give a good basis for what an album might be subjectively better than the other.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Both albums kick off with a very tone-setting track, transitioning from lighter tones to fast, thrashy rhythms. Battery and Blackened are both iconic intros, making it tough for a lot of people to choose between them. Battery's flamenco-style guitar at the beginning really complements its main riff, while Blackened's almost symphonic-sounding intro, with the reversed guitars, leads really well into the atmospheric tone of the song. Personally, I like Blackened more. It feels a little bit more timeless and has a more meaningful message. So it earns 1 point, but Battery has more live performances and Spotify plays, so it earns 2 points. Both albums feature their title track as the second track on their albums. We have Master of Puppets and Injustice for All, and this one's not even really fair, honestly. Master of Puppets is just an iconic track for them. Some would say even their best track. It has a dynamic arrangement, captivating solos, and an iconic riff, but Injustice for All does hold its own. It has really cool, intricate guitar harmonies that complement the main riff really well. Despite its lengthy composition, Injustice for All is really fun to play and easy to nail down. However, Master of Puppets is just a juggernaut, and it earns all 3 points. I think it's the better song, has the more live performances, obviously, and has way more Spotify plays. It's almost at 1 billion. So when comparing these albums, I had to try and make some adjustments to make everything fit a little bit better. Like I said, beat for beat, they're pretty much the same, but there is some things that I think would fit better together. So for this one, I put Leper Messiah up against Eye of the Beholder, because I think they just fit better together. They both feel like the underdog tracks, and often go overlooked in set lists. Leper Messiah has an undeniable groove to it, and I really love its bridge harmonies, and Eye of the Beholder, though equally as groovy, with some really fun guitar parts, could do with some refinement, I think. So I think I have to give the point to Leper Messiah for this one. But surprisingly, Eye of the Beholder has more plays on Spotify than Leper Messiah, so it earns a point for that, but I wasn't expecting that at all. And it has appeared in more of their set list, which really surprised me as well. Next, we have the slow building ballads. We have Welcome Home Sanitarium and One, and I really don't even need to break down these two tracks. I think One might be their greatest composition, but Welcome Home can really hold its own weight. It feels like a nice natural progression from Fade to Black, with really nice slow build, and some really cool guitar harmonies with a thunderous ending. One is just the pinnacle of Metallica songwriting, in my opinion. It has an iconic intro and chorus, really cool bridge, a lot of great harmonies. And the bridge really connects the first half of the song with the second half of the song with that really thunderous ending. Really cool harmonies at the end. Amazing riff. Really fast. The drumming is just amazing on the song too. There's not many songs I would put above this one. So it obviously earns the point. It has more Spotify plays. It has more live plays. So it definitely earns all 3 points for this one. So in another tough matchup, we have Disposable Heroes versus The Shortest Straw. Both tracks are pretty formidable, but they're really lengthy. So I'm going to give my point to The Shortest Straw. It just feels a little bit tighter. I feel that Disposable Heroes could just be tightened up just a little bit and it would be a better song. To me, it feels like it drags a little bit. Despite that though, Disposable Heroes does have more plays on Spotify and has been on more set lists, which is surprising to me as well. The Shortest Straw feels like the stronger song to me, but obviously Disposable Heroes is more popular. Now we have the clash of the crushing slow tracks. The Thing That Should Not Be and Harvester of Sorrow. The Thing That Should Not Be marks Metallica's venture into a heavier tuning, delivering a sludgy and crushing experience, while Harvester of Sorrow might be their darkest song, with some pretty intricate guitar parts. So I'm going to have to give my point to Harvester of Sorrow for this one. It's one of my favorite tracks. It also has more live appearances, and it has more Spotify plays, so it earns all 3 points. Then we come to the one oddball on both albums, The Frayed Ends of Sanity. Master Puppets has 8 tracks, and Justice for All has 9, so this was the one that I couldn't really fit anywhere. It also, to me, feels like the weakest off these two albums, so I didn't want to put it up against anything. I'm not going to give it any points, and you'll see why I don't give it any points, because you'll see how tight this race has been. Now we have the instrumental tracks, Orion and To Live Is To Die, both really heavily influenced by Cliff. Orion stands as Cliff's magnum opus, with his contributions extending to bass parts and guitar parts, especially my favorite part, the bridge harmony. To Live Is To Die serves as a tribute to Cliff after his passing and features some of his writing in there as well. I think it's pretty easy to see that Orion is the better track, and it gets my point. It also has more Spotify plays and definitely has more live performances. Now lastly, we have the outro tracks, Damage Inc. and Dyer's Eve. While Dyer's Eve has a really slow build-up, once the track really gets going, it stays intense all the way through and features some of their most intricate guitar work. While Dyer's Eve just starts with a bang right away, keeps up the intensity all the way through, and I really like Lars's drumming here. It's really intense all the way through, and you can just feel the anger on the track. So Dyer's Eve earns 1 point for me because it's one of my favorite songs. But I was surprised to learn that Damage Inc. had more live plays and more Spotify plays. I always thought that Dyer's Eve would be the more popular song, but clearly it's not. So now I just want to give out some additional points to the albums. Master of Puppets earns a point for being the most played live song from both of these two albums. It also has the most Spotify plays from these two albums. And then I think it deserves a point for really bringing about a resurgence to Metallica's popularity. Obviously, they're a huge band, and I'm not questioning that. But with Gen Z watching Stranger Things, it was brought more into the light for Gen Z. And I think that's really important to the band's longevity, so I think it gets 3 points. then on the other side, And Justice for All sold more, so it gets a point, and it reached a higher peak on the US Billboard, so it gets a point. And then I think One deserves some more love because it was their first music video. It really helped them reach new audiences by going on MTV and Beavis and Butthead, so I think they earned 3 extra points. After tallying all the points that I gave the albums, Master of Puppets just narrowly beats out And Justice for All, as I think a lot of people would say.
My bad.
It's so hard to choose between the two, and for my list, I think a lot of people could switch it. Like, I know Battery might be more popular than Blackened, but I don't like Battery all that much. And then if I was to give The Frayed Ends of Sanity just a point for being a track by itself, it still wouldn't tip the scales in And Justice for All's favor. And it has only 12 live appearances, so that doesn't really count for much. And it has the second lowest Spotify plays, so I don't think it deserves 2 extra points for that. Music is always going to be subjective, and this thought experiment for me was really fascinating. Master of Puppets can be seen as the quintessential Metallica album, appealing to a broader audience with its diverse tracks, from thrashy songs to slow-building ballads. However, And Justice for All has all of that and more, and I believe that it shines as a guitarist's album, offering really intricate details that guitarists can pick apart and learn from. While both albums boast their iconic tracks, the difference lies in their focus. Master of Puppets overall excels in songwriting, delivering a solid, well-rounded experience, even with my dislike for Battery. And Justice for All is brilliant with its instrumentation, showcasing the band's technical abilities. Ultimately, I believe the choice comes down to whether you want a really good, well-rounded experience or want to listen to something that has really good instrumentation. Not that And Justice for All does not have some of their best songwriting, it's just Master of Puppets feels just that much tighter. In my ongoing debate between And Justice for All and Master of Puppets, I often find myself drawn to tracks like One, Harvest of Sorrow, Blackened, and Dyer's Eve, which would all be tracks in my top 10. We're Only Welcome Home Sanitarium, Orion, and Leper Messiah would enter my top 10. However, what hampers And Justice for All is its occasional repetitiveness. But that's what I also think makes it great. It may seem repetitive on the surface, but if you listen to just the guitars, there's so many things going on with them, there's so many harmonies, so many intricate layers that they put down in the studio, and it's been so fun to learn on guitar. Despite this, I think Master of Puppets is a better overall listening experience. I don't find myself going back to listening to every track from And Justice for All, besides my favorite ones. Ultimately though, both albums have their compelling arguments, but ultimately Master of Puppets is subjectively the better album because of its dynamics and really tight songwriting, and I think that's why I really cherish it as well. So let me know what you think in the comments. I know it's really hard to debate which one is better. Obviously, you could swing one way, you could swing the other. That's why I tried to add in the live performance stat and the Spotify stat to show which song might be a little more popular with general audiences. So I'm actually filming this on Sunday, and I put up a poll last night to see what you guys thought would be the better album. And you guys had some really good comments here. Like Gotta Say Justice, my favorite album of all time, The Raw Emotions, The Anger. I completely agree with that. It has a lot of, like Dyer's Eve might be their angriest song, and I think it's so sick. But yeah, a lot of people are saying, like, right down the chute, it's so hard to tell. There's no better. All aspects of these albums, songwriting, structure, studio performance. I completely agree with a lot of these. But I think CJ nailed it on the head. Master of Puppets is objectively more complete and better sounding album. And I think I have to agree with that. I think the guitar tone's better, and the songwriting's better. But yeah, thank you for commenting. And if you missed that, leave comments below. I want to debate this out a little bit more. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite album is. And if you guys enjoyed this, I can do this again with different albums. If you like any of my guitar tones in this video, I have a Patreon that I've set up. It has some guitar tones for the HX Stomp, including some just really good generic metal guitar tones, and a guitar tone for Master of Puppets, and a guitar tone for And Justice for All. So if you like any of the guitar tones here, and you have an HX Stomp, you want to check that out. And then if you enjoyed this video, I want you to check this one out right here. I did a video on the song Orion. I broke down the history of the song, broke down the songwriting, and made a guitar cover and did a guitar tone for it. So if you like this one, you might like that one. Thank you for all your continued support. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.